In today's video, I'm going to be giving you the top 5 best meta loadouts that you should be using after the Warzone Season 4 Reloaded update. Believe it or not, the meta has 100% shifted. The Blitz and NZ not even in the question anymore. So you're definitely gonna wanna tune in and see what weapons that you should be using. Quickly, I'd like to shout out Noti Gang. If you guys are brand new and you would like to see more high kill Warzone gameplays, best class setups, top 5s, settings, and more, subscribe with notifications turned on, drop a like on the video. Only takes a few seconds and it really does help push the video out and gives us more exposure. Without further ado, here is loadout number 1. We have the Kilo. Now they actually buffed the damage on this thing. It's basically how it was on Verdansk when it was the current meta. Super strong, and I'm so happy it's back. The no recoil god gun. Here's the attachment you want to run. Starting off, we got the monolithic suppressor. Sound suppression, you're off the radar. You get damage range, so it's actually viable at long ranges, which is the only range we will be using this thing at. For the barrel, you want to go with the longest one, the Singard Prowler. More damage range and bullet velocity, so we're building the Kilo up to be a powerhouse at long range gunfights. And we get recoil control, so we can make this thing a beamer. For the optic, there's 2 ways of going. You could do the blue dot if you have blue dot for the core Palo sight, or you could do what I do and rock the VLK optic. I think you're able to see a little bit further, and it also reduces your recoil on the weapon. For my underbarrel, I have on the Commando foregrip, recoil stabilization, aiming stability. Again, just making this thing a laser beam. And then finally, I have the 60 round magazine, so I can take out multiple enemies without having to reload. And there you have it, man. Super easy and quick to build the Kilo meta build. Moving on, here's loadout number 2, which is the current best SMG. We have the Marco 5. Now, yes, this is the current meta SMG, at least in my opinion. Yes, it was nerfed, but it is still absolutely incredible. I got gameplay coming out in the future with it. So again, make sure you guys are subscribed so you can see what I was able to do with it. For the setup on this thing, you're gonna wanna throw on recoil booster for the muzzle. You get an increase in fire rate, which leads to a faster TTK. For the barrel, I have on the Immerito 342. Highly accurate and controllable, so it makes it have little to no recoil. We get bullet velocity, so you're able to use this at medium ranges. For the optic, I threw on the slate reflector. I think it's the best optic for the Vanguard weapon, so that's why I threw it on. For the stock, I had on the body HF folding. You get hip fire accuracy, so if you like to hip fire, that's perfect for you. You get aim walking movement speed, which is why I threw it on, so I can strafe quickly, making it harder for the enemies to hit their shots on me. I get ADS speed, sprint to fire speed. Basically, I'm just so much quicker, which I love. For my underbarrel, I had on the skeletal underbarrel. I get movement speed, ADS. So again, we are flying on the map. You're incredibly fast with this Marco 5 build. For my magazine, I had on the 64 round drum. With this, it's cool because I get more ammo and I get recoil control. So I can take out multiple enemies without having to reload, and my weapon is just more accurate, which is great. For my ammunition type, you could do hollow point or lengthen. I'm always changing it up. I ain't gonna lie to you. If you're only using this at very close ranges, hollow point's perfect. If you want to use this more as a sniper support, run lengthened. I use this mainly up close, so I'm gonna throw on hollow point. For my rear grip, I had on grooved. I get ADS firing move speed, so anytime I'm shooting my weapon, I'm strafing quicker. I also get horizontal recoil control, so my weapon, again, it just makes it more accurate. I'm getting power, accuracy, and mobility. I mean, what more could you ask for on the Marco 5? And then my 2 perks I had on were momentum. I get move speed after kills, so you're a little bit faster after you get a kill. So people are stacking, you get a kill, you're a little bit faster, you can get out of there. And then perk 2, I have on quick to feel a lot lighter on my feet, and there is the meta Marco 5 build. Again, this is my current favorite SMG out of everything that was touched. This is the go-to. Moving on, loadout number 3. I had to throw the M13 on here because this is another weapon that received a buff. So I'm really happy to see these Modern Warfare ARs back into the meta. It's great. Let me know in the comments which weapon that you would like to see back in the meta. I'm just glad that the Kilo and M13 are in the talks now. This is great. So for the build on the M13, you're going to throw on the monolithic suppressor. The build's gonna be incredibly similar to the Kilo, so bear with me. We get sound suppression and damage range just like we did on the monolithic suppressor for the Kilo. For the barrel, you're gonna want to do the longest one, which is the Tempest Marksman. Damage range, bullet velocity. We're just making this thing actually viable at long range gunfights so we can compete with those Kilos, M4A1s, STGs, Coopers, so on and so forth. And we get recoil control. This weapon does have a high fire rate, so to make it a little easier to control, this does come in handy. For the optic, I had on the VLK just like I did for the Kilo. Just so much easier to see, and it does reduce the recoil on it. Moving on to my underbarrel, I had on the Commando foregrip. Going back to that high fire rate to make this thing as laser accurate as possible. we're trying to reduce that recoil we get. And then finally, I have on the 60-round magazine, high fire rate, burning through ammo all the time, reloading a lot. We need the biggest magazine, which is the 60. So pretty straightforward build. Moving on to loadout number 4. I threw on the Cold War MP5. So this received a buff, which is great because this was such a fun gun to use before they nerfed it, and I'm just glad, again, it's back in the talks, which is great. So here's what I use on the Cold War MP5. I have an agency suppressor, I get sound suppression, I'm off the radar, I get vertical recoil control to make my weapon more accurate, bullet velocity and damage range, which definitely come in handy because it sucks at medium ranges, so we're definitely going to build this thing up a little bit more. For my next attachment, I threw on the Tiger Team Spotlight. As you can see, the mobility bar just flies through the roof. I just got a lot more mobility, which is what I'm looking for. Movement speed, aim walking, movement speed. I mean, literally my 2 favorite just movement perks I can have. For my stock, I had on Raider stock. I get ADS firing move speed, aim walking movement speed. So it makes it really hard for the enemies to even hit me because of how fast I am on my feet. And then I got sprint to fire speed, which means my weapon comes out quicker after sprinting. I can get the first shot off and hopefully just win that gunfight. Moving on to my underbarrel, I had on the Bruiser Grip, more movement speed, hip fire accuracy. I mean, just adding more power to this thing. And then finally, my last attachment is the 50-round drum. A 50 round is pretty crazy in an MP5, and the reload sucks on it, which is okay because you could take out multiple enemies without having to reload with that 50 rounder. And moving on to our last and final loadout of today's top 5. And for the final loadout of today's video, we have the Fara 83. Now, this is basically a Cold War M13. High fire rate, low recoil, an absolute beast, and it was also buffed. So here are the attachments you want to use on. We got the Grease Suppressor. It's basically the agency suppressor we had on our MP5, so don't need to say too much about that. For the barrel, I rock the Liberator. Now, the reason I don't use the Spetsnaz RPK barrel, dude, the mobility is way too slow. At this point, you shouldn't even be using the weapon if you're going to throw this barrel, and it is not worth it. With Liberator, you get bullet velocity, vertical recoil control. That's all you need. You're not torching your mobility, and it's, you have normal ADS speed. It's great. Liberator is more than enough. For the optic, I like to throw on the Axle Arms 3 times. I think it's the best optic for long-range Cold War weapons. For my underbarrel, I had on the Spetsnaz Grip to make this thing as accurate as possible. Like I said, it does have a high fire rate, so just to make this thing easier to control, you got to throw this bad boy on. And then finally, the magazine, I throw on the Spetsnaz 60. Your ADS is a little bit slower, but again, going back to that high fire rate, you burn through ammo. So if you want to take out 2 to 3 enemies without having to reload, and you don't want to have to worry about that slow reload, 60 round is the move. And there you have it. Those are the best loadouts after the Season 4 Reloaded update. A bunch of random weapons, but again, these were all buffed. And there's also some new perks that you're going to want to try out for yourselves because Serpentine, which is what we have on right now, was nerfed. Now, it's only nerfed by 5%, but still, I think it's worth mentioning because, in my opinion, Quick Fix is probably the best perk 1 because you could regenerate your health really quick after plating. For perk 2, I like to run Overkill, so I could use an AR and an SMG at the exact same time. If you don't really care to do that, I'd go with Tempered. So instead of plating for 3 times, you only got to do it twice and you're good to go. And then for perk 3, you could do Combat Scout if you can't see that well, or if you like wall banging people through tents on Rebirth. I personally run Amp so I can swap weapons quicker because I always have that AR and SMG. For my lethal and tactical, I got a throwing knife to finish down enemies. I don't gotta waste ammo. And then stim shot so I can get out of sticky situations, get that speed boost, regen health if I'm in the storm. Literally the best tactical. And there you have it, man. Hope you guys enjoyed this top 5. Let me know in the comments which weapons that you guys are currently using that was not in this top 5. Subscribe if you guys are brand new. You made it to the end. You must have enjoyed the video and this top 5. Drop a like as well. And I'll see you guys in tomorrow's upload. If you're subscribed, you guys all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's. Peace.